Final meet head-to-head here in Medellin tonight, with a very big incentive for the winners, a guaranteed place in the last 8, as we take a look at the Costa Rican lineup and the likelihood of winning the group and therefore being drawn against one of the weaker nations in the quarter-final. Remember, in Group A, Colombia and Chile already through to the next stage. Mexico and Brazil favourites to win automatic qualification from Group B. So whoever wins this group will have a quarter-final tie against one of the third-place nations, and that could provide a passport to the last 4. Certainly Uruguay will be considered favourites because of their greater reputation on the international stage, but remember, they've come here with an understrength squad devoid of their European-based stars, and they face a strong Costa Rican team who were more convincing than the 1-0 scoreline suggests in their opening victory against Honduras. Uruguay, amongst the most successful nations in the history of the Copa America. They've reached the final 20 times, won the title on 14 occasions. They've got history and tradition in their favour, whereas Costa Rica are taking part in the Copa for only the 2nd time as late invited guests following the withdrawal of Canada. Well, alongside me tonight, Brian Marwood, who saw Costa Rica in their opening game. Do you think they're good enough to beat Uruguay?
Well, I thought they attacked very well in their previous game against Honduras, and you've rightly indicated perhaps a little bit more worthy than 1-0 victors, but against Uruguay it'll be difficult. Uruguay look very strong, well organised, very disciplined. Sorondo, the number 3, the skipper, organises things exceptionally well at the back, and I think that defensively they'll be set up a lot better than Honduras. But you know, Costa Rica do carry that edge, and certainly Medford and One Shot are a front 2 that will trouble most sides.
Just to reiterate the team news, 2 changes for Uruguay from the side that beat Bolivia. Javier Chavanton, who scored the winning goal in that game, is out injured and may not play any further part in the tournament. He's gone back, in fact, to Montevideo. He's replaced by Carlos Morales, and at left wing-back, Alejandro Cabello comes in for Pablo Lima. Costa Rica also make a couple of changes from the team that beat Honduras. Henan Medford comes into attack alongside Manchester City's Paulo Wanchop, and Ronald Gomez wins the starting place in midfield. It's Uruguay in the sky blue shirts and black shorts who get us underway. Costa Rica in their normal strip of red shirts and blue shorts. Conditions good here, quite warm, but not humid. It's one of the higher venues in terms of altitude. This 1,600 meters above sea level, in fact, so quite cool conditions for the players of both teams to hopefully turn on a show for us here. A new young Uruguayan team, one of the European stars here. But again, 2 years ago, when the tournament was held in Paraguay, it was an experimental Uruguayan team that day, and they surprised everyone by getting all the way through to the final, where they lost against Brazil. Going forward down this right-hand side is Carlos Morales, the new man who's come in for the injured Chavanton. The referee tonight from Brazil, Carlos Simon.
Well, Morales very positive in the way that he took Martinez on. I thought Martinez was the weak link at the back for Costa Rica the other evening. It'll be interesting to see if Uruguay try and exploit that space on the Costa Rican left-hand side of the defence.
Yellow Morales trying to get clear of his marker as Lemos planted the free kick in, knocked it a little bit short. Costa Rica able to deal with that easily. Lemos, who plays in the hole behind the 2 Morales, the twin strikers. And that's the... Well, I thought it was going to be the first corner of the game. So did Morales, but in fact the linesman has indicated a goal kick.
Well, you'll certainly look... and you'll see Lemos, the number 9 for Uruguay, on the ball a lot. He's the playmaker. He's the one that's given the free role, the responsibility to try and create attacking opportunities. And it'll be interesting to see what sort of job Costa Rica do on him. Solis, who plays almost and protects the back 3. There he is in possession. Will, I'm sure, look to pick up Lemos whenever opportunity.
Martinez, the long-haired number 5. One of the 3 centre-backs, both teams playing a very similar system. I have to say, Uruguay weren't mightily impressive in their opening match, even though they got the 3 points virtue of their 1-0 win. It wasn't exactly a sparkling game or a sparkling display by them.
Well, we talked about it already, didn't we? They're very disciplined, they're very well organised. They don't like giving an awful lot away. And certainly the sides, or one or two of the sides that I've seen so far in the Copa America, they've come to attack, they've come to enjoy themselves. Uruguay are certainly set up a little bit differently.
Here's Drummond, who had a good game, the number 2 down the right-hand side for Costa Rica in that opening match. Helped to lay on the goal for Paulo Wanchop. Driving forward again here and finding the Manchester City man, and a good ball through. Uruguay pressed here. But a wild effort when the ball came out to the left wing-back Castro.
Well, what a great shame and what a wonderful opportunity, but that's a type of ability that Costa Rica possess when they get forward. And it's noticeable that it was the right wing-back Drummond who started the move, and it was the left wing-back Castro that shot wildly at the end of it. But they do love to get their wing-backs forward at every opportunity.
First time these nations have ever met in this competition, incidentally. They've played each other 4 times in other competitions, and Uruguay have won all 4 games. They last met in Montevideo a couple of years ago, and that was a tremendous game of football. Uruguay beating Costa Rica by 5 goals to 4. More of the same tonight, and we'll all be happy, apart from Costa Rica perhaps. Diaz, the right wing back, with the throw down the line, looking for the taller of the 2 Morales, Richard Morales, the big black striker, taking possession again here. Couldn't get it back to Diaz. Costa Rica can't get it away, however, and now Diaz is caught offside.
Well, certainly we talked about wing backs, and you do feel when sides line up in the manner that both Uruguay and Costa Rica have this evening, with the 3 centre-halves and the 2 wing backs, you really do expect those players to get forward and try and create something in wide areas. And I do believe that when you're looking at an edge in between the 2 teams, then Costa Rica do possess that. I think that both Castro and Drummond possess more of a threat than the 2 wing-backs, Cabello and Diaz, for Uruguay.
This is Martinez for Costa Rica. Foul there, I think, by Paulo Wanchop as he tried to control the ball. English fans who've watched him in a career that's taken in several clubs, of course, in the English Premiership, will know all about his unpredictable skills, and he certainly turned those on in the first game.
At times he was magical, and at other times you'd think that he would struggle to get into a nationwide conference side. I mean, you do see the full array of the abilities of Paulo Wanchop, and let's hope that we see plenty of that this evening.
Derby, West Ham, now Manchester City. Wanchop in possession again, tried a little flick over the nearest defender, Sorondo, still keeps possession, and there we see a little bit of the repertoire of Paulo Wanchop. The crowd loved that, but the defender didn't. Perez winning it back. Well, who can ever forget his introduction to English football, that amazing solo goal which he scored for Derby against Manchester United at Old Trafford. We knew then that here was an unusual customer, an entertainer, might drive coaches mad, might drive fans mad from time to time, but certainly can play the game.
Well, I didn't think it was helpful towards Jim Smith's hairline, not that it's particularly in the best of health as it is, but he is so frustrating, but yet he'll do things that really make fans on the edge of their seat, and he is just a little sample of what he's about. Little back heels, little tricks, little flicks, and that's what endears him to fans and frustrates managers and coaches.
Callejas for Uruguay in the blue strip, remember. Lemos spreading the play out to Cabello, the left wing back, who's come into the side tonight. Decent ball in as well. Martinez got it clear, and relief there for Costa Rica, but there was a foul by the other Martinez. There are 2 of them on the field tonight. The blonde-haired Uruguayan Martinez committing the foul there. Andres Martinez, who plays for the Defensor Sporting Club, who have provided several members of this new-look squad for Uruguay, a team and a nation that's always done extremely well at the highest level of world football, especially considering it's quite a small country, only around 3 million people. In fact, in terms of population, they're just about the same size as Costa Rica. of the smallest nations taking part in this tournament in that respect. Yet Uruguay's history in World Cups and Copa America is absolutely outstanding.
Well, they've always been a very disciplined unit, and I'm sure that they've built from the back, and this side looks no different. Chance for the coach, Victor Poor, to make changes, bring one or two young players into the squad, and I'm sure that the way that they're playing at the moment, in certainly the first game and part of this game, they look very solid.
Cross there by Gomez. They didn't make the best job of getting that clear, Uruguay. They got lucky a little bit there as their captain, Gonzalo Sorondo, another from the Defensor Sporting Club, gets it clear. Just an indication of how much the squad has changed. Sorondo, the captain, is the only man in the entire Uruguayan squad here in the Copa America who played in the recent magical World Cup qualifying victory over Brazil. Callejas, and now Martinez. Lemos. That's a good first-time ball. It hit Morales on the back, and that was unlucky. Otherwise, he might have been in behind the last defender.
Well, he's very unfortunate, and that's the type of abilities that Lemos possesses. That's why Uruguay have got to get him on the ball whenever possible. He loves to be on set pieces, and he loves to be in the last third. He is a real creator. He's got wonderful awareness of where his teammates are, and just a little outside flick of his right foot very nearly allowed Morales in on goal.
Cabello. Nothing on, so he goes back to Becerra, one of the three centre-backs. Clearance then by Marin. Costa Rica top of their World Cup qualifying section at the moment. They lead that from the United States. They're in a different part of the world, of course, as far as FIFA are concerned, to Uruguay and the other South American nations. They're in the CONCACAF section of the tournament. Castro, clever little skill, just got caught there by Callejas. And now Martinez. Castro again. The neat and tidy build-up play in midfield, that's the trademark of teams in this part of the world.
Uruguay are working very hard at the moment to close Costa Rica down. Clearly realised that there was such a threat in wide areas against Honduras the other evening. And Drummond and Castro just struggling at times to get forward, but here's an opportunity now for Castro to deliver.
No real problems for either goalkeeper in the opening 10 minutes here. Manua in the Uruguayan goal, Loris for Costa Rica. Castro again. Uruguay closing their men down quickly. It's something that particularly adept at. Indeed, if there's a tackle to be made, they won't ask twice, and the more violent nature of Uruguayan football is probably what they're most notorious for, I think, over the last 15-20 years or so. But they've got some great individual footballers as well, no question about that, as Castro looks for Paulo Wanchop, far edge of the area. Now Morales for Uruguay. Cabello. Martinez. The ball over the top for Morales. The other Morales up in support inside the penalty area. He looks for him. Completely surrounded by defenders the moment he brought it down.
Well, Richard Morales was the initial threat, and you'll see a lot during this evening's game how Martinez, number 5 for Costa Rica, tends to play people onside. They do line up with the three centre-halves of Marin, Parks and Martinez, but noticeable against Honduras, Martinez is a little bit unsure of where his centre-half colleagues are, and he does tend to play front runners onside.
That was a brilliant layoff there by Paulo Wanchop. Did really well to set Gomez free down the left. Can he deliver the cross? No, disappointing.
Well, it was disappointing, and it was a feature of their game against Honduras because they had a majority of the possession. They couldn't quite find that sort of edge they were looking for in the last third, but here is the abilities that Paulo Wanchop has, and it's important that they get the right sort of service into him, because Sorondo is a no-nonsense centre-half, the number 3, Perez and Becerra very much likewise, and if they don't get the right sort of delivery into One Shot or Medford. They're both going to find it a bit of a problem.
Medford on the ball now. First time we've really noticed him in the opening few minutes. Castro given away to Sorondo. Ayaya. And the whistle's gone. Free kick to Uruguay, who reached the final of the World Youth Cup a couple of years ago. And in the various age levels below senior international football, the Uruguayans have an outstanding record. So it looks as though their immediate future's in good hands in that respect. This is terrific experience for many of their younger players, taking part in a prestigious tournament like this. Huge kick by the keeper, which had Costa Rica backpedaling and still has, as Cabello played a dangerous ball through.
Once again, an indication of how far Martinez tends to drop. You know, the other two centre-halves, Parks and Marine, had come up a good yard ahead of Martinez, and that does allow strikers still to stay in the danger area.
Two footballs on the pitch. Only one needed for the free kick for that wild challenge on Diaz. The previous free kick from this area was dropped in a little short by Lemos. Not this time, though. Got the opposite problem this time, too long.
Well, the skipper there, Parks, just coordinating the strategy at the back for Costa Rica. But, Uruguay look very strong, don't they? Look very solid. I'm sure that Costa Rica are going to find it very difficult indeed to break them down. One of the problems that Uruguay have had, Alan, is that they, you know, the fact they're so good at the back and they work extremely hard in midfield, they don't really score enough goals, and that's been one of their problems in their qualification for the World Cup.
Talked about Uruguay's marvellous record in the history of this competition. They've been finalists 20 times. They've won it 14. They hold the record jointly with Argentina for that. And as Argentina aren't here, of course, it's their opportunity to nudge ahead of them if they can win the competition. Lost 6 finals. Their last victory was 1995. And as I mentioned earlier, they were in the final, losing to Brazil just 2 years ago at the last Copa America. Here's Morales for Uruguay. Martinez. Morales again. Good challenge. Now Drummond. Solis. Castro. Just about kept it in and then got chopped to the ground for his trolls.
Well, again, it's
the linesman said he didn't leave it in, so he's got nothing out of that.
Again, it's an indication of how hard Uruguay are working, and clearly they have been coached extremely well. And Victor Por has brought the Uruguayan sides into this Copa America that are going to be very difficult to break down. I think no matter whether it's Costa Rica or even the likes of Brazil or Colombia, I'm sure that Uruguay will be a very difficult side to beat.
This is Parks, the skipper and central defender for Costa Rica. Drummond on the right-hand side, and coming back deep into his own half, Medford. Good skill by him, dragged back. Martinez, the guilty man. Free kick to Costa Rica.
Well, they're not trying to be cynical as well at the same time, Uruguay. Thou shalt not pass, no matter whether it's good defending or cynical defending.
Slow, measured build-up. Now the little explosion in the final third of the field, but Drummond unable to get on to the return ball. Goal kick.
That's a great shame. It looked as if it was a neat build-up between Drummond and Medford, but that really is the areas that Costa Rica have got to try and get into, because the wing-backs do possess quality when they're in those areas. There's attacking third. Drummond, we saw create the goal for One Shot the other evening, and Castro was very impressive also in that game.
Gustavo Manure plays for Nacional. Goalkeeper for Uruguay. He's normally the backup goalkeeper to Carini, one of the European-based players who isn't here. One of the problems, of course, for the countries wishing to get their #1 choices who play in Europe was the insurance aspect, because of the well-publicised problems, kidnappings and the general lawless nature of Colombia. You can imagine what kind of quotes insurance companies were giving for footballers who are worth many, many millions of pounds.
Yeah, I'm sure there's one or two anxious managers, club managers, really wondering and hoping that their players will come back unscathed, and that's both on and off the field.
So far, we repeat this in hope as well as in pleasure. There haven't been any problems at all on or off the field in this competition. Cabello's cross was good. Oh, and a marvellous reaction save from the goalkeeper. That looked as though Uruguay were about to go in front. What a terrific response by Loris to keep out that header.
Well, it was a pure reactionary save, but you know, it's what I talked about a little bit earlier. Martinez, the #5, he really does go to sleep at times defensively. He drops far too deep. It's a wonderful ball in from Cabello. It's towards the far post, and certainly the header looks as if it's goal bound, and Loris pulls off an astounding save.
Well, a quiet opening 15 minutes or so suddenly came to life there, the game. And Costa Rica have their goalkeeper to thank for keeping the score level. At 0-0. Keeper has won his place in the recent World Cup qualifiers, took over from Mason, who had been the first choice goalkeeper ahead of him.
Well, Uruguay really are making it hard for Costa Rica at the moment, and there's Martinez just missing the climb, and it looked as if Carlos Morales had got in at the far post with the header, and it was just pure instinctive by the goalkeeper, Lonis.
Good instinctive play as well by Paulo Wanchope again down this side, but Costa Rica lose possession. Martinez driving on in midfield for the Uruguayans, who are now settling into their game and getting at Costa Rica more. There's another good ball over the top for Morales. Good strong play by the captain there, Parks, but Morales was even stronger. Cabello's cross, decent again. Only half cleared as far as Lemos. A better ball there, and Costa Rica were all over the place again.
Well, they're having a problem to get a grip of this game, Costa Rica. And it really is borne out of the fact, just look at how hard Uruguay are working to get the ball back. That really has been a feature of this opening sort of 19-20 minutes. And they've made life so difficult for Costa Rica. Costa Rica really struggled to get into any sort of rhythm at all.
Medford, Drummond in close support, the #2. Medford goes for the cross instead. Headed away by Sorondo. Clever ball over the top. Not such a clever follow-up ball, however.
Well, you could see what Lemos was trying there. Carlos Morales, having laid the ball off to him, had sort of spun away to the left-hand side. There was space for the ball to be played into. Unfortunately, the delivery didn't quite match the build-up play.
Foul there on Hernan Medford, who plays his club football for Necaxa in Mexico.
Well, this really is the closest of which Uruguay have marked. They made it so difficult for Costa Rica.
Centino will take this free kick. Plenty of targets there, including Medford himself, the #17 there. Could have gone absolutely anywhere. It was Morales who got it cleared in the end. And the danger hasn't passed yet. Wanchope, great ball across the face of the box. If only they'd committed more men into an attacking position there, Costa Rica might have had the first goal. So after a pretty subdued opening, this game is livening up, Ryan.
Well, superb play, wasn't it, by Paulo Wanchope? You know, the lay back into towards the danger area was absolutely superb, but his run was very clever indeed. He maintained that onside position that allowed him that opportunity, and the quality of which he delivered that ball back into the box was absolutely superb, and almost really took his teammates by unaware.
Central defender Marin, #3 there, comes towards the near post. Martinez got it clear. Costa Rica's best little period, this. The other Martinez makes sure that they keep possession again as well. Centino. skips round the challenge with ease. A poor ball, easily cleared by the captain Sorondo. Morales, Richard Morales. Keeps going. And still, wonderful run. But a pretty good tackle, and it had to be, because if Marin had got that wrong, he might have been looking at a penalty.
Well, I do believe they're the areas to exploit as far as Uruguay concerned. I think Martinez is the weak link at the back. I don't think defensively his awareness of other defenders is particularly great. And when you saw the manner in which Morales had just picked that ball up and ran at him from at least 30-40 yards, really did expose him.
Here goes Medford, collecting that lovely ball over the top from Solis. And in fact, it's Drummond who appears way up the field. The right wing back finding himself almost in the centre forwards position, as we see that perfectly timed challenge a moment or two earlier by Marin, Luis Marin, who plays for the Alajuela club, who seem to have provided the majority of Costa Rica's squad here in the Copa. Just over midway through the first half, no goals and not much to report in the opening 10 minutes or so, but the last few minutes have certainly been entertaining.
Yes, they have, and I think it's a period of the game where sides tend to just feel each other out. They don't really want to take a gamble at this stage of the game, but there's enough there that you think there'll be more than a hint of goals. Both sides look as if they're capable of troubling each other's defences, and I'm sure that when Costa Rica do get into good attacking areas, they do have that necessary quality. I think one of the missing pieces of Uruguay's play at the moment is that they just lack that cutting edge, because other than that they look very disciplined, very well organised, and certainly a hard side to break down.
Quite happy to play their way out of a dangerous position at the back there rather than just go for the big whack upfield, Martinez, and it's paid off because there's a foul on Paulo Wanchop, and now Castro in possession, and Wanchop again knew that the challenge was coming in. Good football again. Drummond. This is Medford. Taking his opportunity to be in the starting lineup well. The long-range effort, I think, was Solis who came onto it. And Costa Rica getting better.
Well, I think perhaps Uruguay just tiring a wee bit. I think it's so difficult to maintain that sort of work rate that set their stall out to try and achieve. I think they made sure that they wouldn't allow Costa Rica an easy ride in this opening period, but now they've just take their foot off the pace a little bit, which is understandable. It's allowing Costa Rica some more time, some more room, and they're more than adept at making sure they're good at that.
But this could well be the opening goal, and should have been for Uruguay. Morales, who had the header saved earlier, should have done better there, really. The goalkeeper again to Costa Rica's rescue. To be fair to him, he was out very quickly, but at this level you would have expected a goal there, Brian.
Oh, it's an excellent chance, it really was, and Morales the culprit, if you like, but it was very route one, wasn't it, by Uruguay. They're quite happy to knock that ball long at times and allow Richard Morales to scrap for bits and pieces. It was his little header, and Carlos Morales linking up there, but again you've got to wonder where that back three, in particular Martinez, the central defender, was.
Lemos onto Diaz. Lemos again, the number 9. Diaz gets forward, so too the man ahead of him, Morales. Well, they defend very deep, Costa Rica. It's a risky game, but it's one that they've got away with so far as Gomez takes them forward. Paulo Wanchop's layoff. Centino looking for Drummond to get forward down the right. Cleared by Cabello, who's doing pretty well in that left wing-back role.
Well, up to now, Wanchop has held the ball up extremely well. It's been very difficult because Sorondo, the skipper, but there's the opportunity that was well saved by Lones. There's two outstanding stops by the Costa Rican goalkeeper that's certainly kept his side in this game.
Costa Rica's only other appearance in these championships was in 1997. Lones played in the opening game, and conceded 5 against Brazil, and he was dropped and left on the bench for their remaining 2 games, which they lost both of as well. Their first victory in the history of this tournament was their first game here. And when you consider that many of their players were on holiday and certainly not expecting this tournament to happen, they're putting up a good showing here, and they could be in. It's got to be a chance, surely. One chop, couldn't get the ball to go where he wanted, but he's gone through anyway. Oh, that is absolutely magnificent. Chop has scored a stunning goal. The chance seemed to have gone, but not with this fella. He doesn't give up on anything. Those long rubbery legs of his just kept him going. He stumbled through the challenges, and the finish was perfect.
Well, from what I've seen of this fella in a game and a half, he seems to be emerging as one of the players of the tournament. Just when he thought the chance had gone, showing great ability between the 2 central defenders, and then just did enough to have the awareness of where Manure was, and he just slotted the ball past the goalkeeper. But really, there you can see there's not a lot of room to work in. Sorondo and Perez, the 2 defenders who have been so dominant and so strong so far in this game, and there you can see that Paulo Wanchope just finding that extra edge just when it's needed, and that ability to knock the ball past the goalkeeper at such a tight angle. What delight, and what a fantastic goal.
But he might just be the only man on this pitch who could have scored that goal, and all credit to him. A lot of players, I'm sure, would have gone down there after the challenge hoping to get a penalty, but particularly, I have to say, South American players who don't need much encouragement to hit the deck. But he somehow or other kept his balance when most people would have gone flat in their faces, and got his reward.
Well, I was actually just saying in the before he scored his goal that I thought his general all-round play had been fantastic. I thought he'd held the ball up. It's so difficult, really. We talked about the strength of the Uruguayan centre-halves. They haven't given him an easy time, but he really looks on song this evening, and everything he's done with a lot of quality, and really his goal has just capped a fine opening in this game for him.
Well, Costa Rica flying now. Lead Uruguay by 1-0. Paulo Wanchope's 2nd goal of the tournament. And the team who didn't even expect to be here could end up with maximum points from their first 2 games. Remember Denmark all those years ago, the European Championships, when they were on a beach somewhere, came in as a late replacement for Yugoslavia and went all the way and won the competition. You never know. In fact, talking of beaches, the coach of Costa Rica was on holiday in Spain with a San Miguel in his hand when he got the phone call and said, cancel the holiday, get over here quick, we're putting a team in. And his team are doing him proud.
Well, they are dominant at the moment since they've scored that goal. I think that the game was fairly even, fairly tight. Uruguay weren't giving anything away, but now Costa Rica have got that confidence from the goal. Some of their passing is absolutely superb. This is exactly the way to play if you can maintain possession and get Uruguay just chasing around. But really, this chance looked as if it had gone. You know, once he'd had the initial block from Sorondo, the captain, you thought Wanchope may well just lay the ball up, but not for him. You know, he really does try the unexpected. At times it comes off, just as we've seen, and what a marvellous goal.
Well, I dare say a certain Kevin Keegan will be really looking forward to working with this fellow at Main Road next season.
Well, you have to think as well that no disrespect to the likes of Jim Smith and Joe Royle and Harry Redknapp, but Kevin Keegan, in the way that he loves his players to play, you've got to get the feeling that if there's one manager that could get the best out of Paulo Wanchope, it could well be Kevin Keegan.
Decent free kick. Costa Rica defended it well, although their captain Park seemed to be injured then as he played the ball away. Keep an eye on him. Ronaldo Parks, the number 21, another who plays in the Mexican League with the Guadalajara-based club. Well, the coach of Uruguay, Victor Pua, has got a problem or 2 now, not just round the waistline, but in terms of the way his team are playing here. Because Costa Rica at the moment are controlling things.
That unfinished San Miguel's looking more and more appealing as this game goes on.
Clear Clearance by Loris, who, remember, had made 2 outstanding stops before Costa Rica's goal. The ball over the top, aimed at Medford, too long, and in fact he might have been offside anyway. Guimaraes, the coach of Costa Rica, pretty satisfied with the way his team have done here, and pretty satisfied with their World Cup qualifying competition, as I mentioned before, top of their group at the moment. He had to come back from holiday, pick a squad and get everything together in the space of just 5 days. And Costa Rica have responded exceptionally well to those difficult circumstances.
It's obviously created a very good side as well, because they're top of their group, also qualify the World Cup at the moment, and at the moment the way they're playing, they really are in superb form. Very impressed with them against Honduras. They do possess that threat, certainly, in the way that Wanchop plays, and at the moment their football is absolutely outstanding.
Brilliant stuff. The crowd really enjoying this. Unfortunately, offside at the end of a flowing move. Well, we saw this with Brazil last night, a nervy, tentative opening for them. Once they scored, they turned on the samba beat, and the football was an absolute joy to watch. Costa Rica are reproducing that kind of football at the moment.
Well, we talked about the goal and what a wonderful goal it was, and I'm sure it'll be talked about time and time again, but let's not forget as well the 2 saves that Lonis, the goalkeeper, has made. He really has kept his side in the game.
Yes, dispossessed, but Uruguay determined to get it back, which Diaz has done. Lemos. Morales unlucky there, almost won the ball back. Here he goes again, Paulo Wanchop. Typical of him, he only had one thought, that was to take on the nearest defender and go for goal.
He showed too much of it, didn't he, to Sorondo, but you can see the mood he's in. He really has gained that confidence from his start, which generally has been outstanding, and the goal that he scored.
Well, the Chilean striker Montesinos has 3 goals, one of which, in my opinion, might well have been debited as an own goal against Reyes of Venezuela, and Montesinos leads the goal-scoring charts at the moment, but Paulo Wanchop in this kind of form, with 2 already in the competition, might overtake him.
Well, I think certainly looking at the Uruguayan side at the moment, they visibly look shaken from the goal that they've conceded, but it really was a moment of brilliance. There's no 2 ways about that. You know, as well as they have defended, as strong as they've looked, you really can't do anything about that individual brilliance that Paulo Wanchop showed.
10 minutes to half-time. Costa Rica lead 1-0, but face a free kick here. Clever little layoff to Diaz. Morales. Cabello curls the ball in. Martinez is there, and onside. The keeper's done marvellously well again for Costa Rica. Well, Wanchop at one end, Lonis at the other, are producing heroics here for the team in red, Costa Rica.
Well, there's certainly enough here for Uruguay to have a belief that they can get back into this game. Just look at how deep Costa Rica are defending. It's absolutely incredible. They're almost on top of the goalkeeper at times, and unfortunately for them, it was how deep they defended that allowed Martinez to make the run from midfield. But really, you know, he should be offside in situations like that, and Lonis once again coming to the rescue.
Well, the goalkeeper, Eric Lonis, is a man inspired at the moment. Apparently not inspired enough to bother taking the goal kick. He's going to leave that to the captain, Martinez. Paulo Wanchop with the flick on. Well, it looked as though it had gone out. Throw to Costa Rica. Well, Paulo Wanchop has always been one of the crowd's favourites wherever he plays. His club football in England, his international football for Costa Rica. He's a showman, that's for sure.
It was interesting when Costa Rica made substitutions the other evening and they brought the other two strikers off the field. One shot was certainly the player that was going to stay because he does provide that inspiration for his teammates.
Well, nice to see that English football, in a way, has made a little contribution to the Copa America thanks to Manchester City's Paulo Wanchope. Yes, with the ball over the top, Morales caught offside.
Well, that's better for Costa Rica. You can see that the line that they held was a good 20-25 yards out. And Morales just straying offside, but that will please the Costa Rican coach, Dumas, a little bit more than what he's seen so far defensively from his side.
Marvellous skill again there down the right-hand side this time by Paulo Wanchope. He's really turning on a virtuoso performance here. Right from the start, when he had that lovely little turn tight on the touchline, he's been up for it, he's in the mood.
Yeah, and I think when you looked at his performance in the first game against Honduras, you know, he certainly has got to be one of the favourites for player of the tournament, because if he maintains this form, then I'm sure that, no disrespect to Manchester City, but there'll be one or two bigger clubs around the world eyeing his abilities and talents on show at the moment at the Copa.
Injury there to Luis Marin, but he's fit enough to continue. And a beautiful turn now. Well, surely that was a foul by the defender. I thought he dragged Gomez back there when Gomez had wrong-footed him with a lovely little slight.
Well, I think he felt that Gomez was the culprit initially. Here we can see that the chance Gomez blazes wide with his left foot, but initially getting himself into that position, I think the referee felt that he'd committed the foul against the Uruguayan skipper Serrando.
Well, a close call, that one. Poor cross.
Well, they have been poor, haven't they, when they've gone into the last third, Uruguay, although they've had a couple of very good chances, and thanks to Lones, the Costa Rican goalkeeper, that Costa Rica haven't conceded a goal, but when they have been in that attacking third, you can see why they've struggled to score goals.
Norris has rediscovered the ability to take the kicks. Well, an important few minutes in the game this for Costa Rica. They have a lead. Uruguay might have had more possession than them and certainly have created more chances, but if they can go in at half-time leading 1-0, Costa Rica will be confident that they can go on and win this game, which would see them end up with 6 out of 6 points and a certain place in the quarter-finals. And the group winners here in Group C will meet one of the third-place teams in the last 8, so that's a big incentive. Lemos. This is Diaz down the right. Morales. Got to concentrate hard now, Costa Rica's defenders. Always a critical period of the game. So many goals are scored in the last few minutes of each half in football. Clearance by Castro wasn't the best, and that keeps the pressure on the men in red. Diaz for Uruguay. Quickly taken free kick, which the referee will order to be retaken, I think. Lemos. So they've got plenty of men behind the ball now, Costa Rica, and why not? Diaz for Uruguay. Harsh challenge there. The referee has allowed the advantage. And a decent cross. Morales with the header. Should have done better, albeit he was quite a long way out near the penalty spot.
Oh, what a glorious opportunity that was for Uruguay. And they ought to have done better, but I've got to say it's come once again through some inept defending on that left-hand side for Costa Rica. And, well, to be fair to Martinez, Castro, the left wing-back, at times just loves to get forward, not that keen on getting back, and it's leaving Martinez fairly exposed. And at times when Uruguay have attacked down their right-hand side, Costa Rican's left-hand side, they have created problems.
Yes, Morales winning the free kick, which is taken early, too early. Poor, disappointing that.
I just think that's the edge, isn't it, between the two sides. I do believe technically Costa Rica are better than the Uruguayan side, and although Uruguay have had the majority of the possession, they've looked very strong at the back, and they've had to contend with some marvellous skills and abilities shown by Paulo Wanchop. But that really is the difference between the two sides, that greater technical assets that Costa Rica possess.
There's Diaz for Uruguay. Foul there on Lemos. Rodrigo Lemos. It's a pretty good goal-scoring record for the national team from midfield. He's in possession again. Sees the run down the left by Cabello. The captain, Parks, blocking the cross. And only a couple of minutes of the first half remaining now. Calleja's layoff. Diaz stabs it forward. And the referees let that one go. And they've got three players here in advanced positions, Costa Rica. Paulo Wanchop, inevitably one of them. Really, probably the ball should have been to the right to Medford. Easy for me to say, I know.
Well, I think Gomez decided to play his pass to Paulo Wanchop because he knows how well Wanchop has played in this first half. But as you've rightly identified, Medford was in the better position and really was a wonderful opportunity for Costa Rica. A very quick and sharp counter-attack.
Callejas plays it forward. Martinez almost onto the through ball. A wonderfully bizarre clearance there that's kept his team right under pressure. Costa Rica have got away with it though, for the moment, or have they? Martinez hooks it back in. I think he knew that the goalkeeper was out of position and tried to beat him from that range, when really the cross into the middle was the better option.
Well, it was very ambitious, wasn't it, because Morales looked as if he was in a better position. But Martinez, there's 3 or 4 times that we've seen him on that left-hand side get into good positions.
Morales, only a minute of stoppage time will be added.
I'm sure Uruguay, the coach, Victor Paul, will be certainly not too disheartened. I think his side have played reasonably well, but he'll be hoping that they can provide a little bit more of a cutting edge in the second half. Perhaps hoping that Lemos can get further forward.
Which he does now. Nice little neat turn. The ball in to Morales, Richard Morales. And that should earn them a corner if it goes. It hasn't. And the goalkeeper again shows wonderful agility and safe hands.
They've just provided that abilities at either end. Wanchop from an attacking sense, and Lonas has been absolutely outstanding in goal for Costa Rica.
Yes. Bizarra slows it down. Back it goes to the captain, Sorondo. We're into the final seconds of the first half here in Medellin, and that, in fact, is half-time. Costa Rica go in with a 1-goal lead, courtesy of a marvellous individual effort by Manchester City striker Paulo Wanchop. The half-time score, Costa Rica 1, Uruguay 0.
Víctor Púa tiene que tomar nota y rectificar en su equipo si no quiere que se le vaya el partido. Estaremos con ustedes de nuevo al comienzo del segundo tiempo, aquí desde Medellín, en el departamento de Antioquia. Hasta ahora mismo. Saludos, señores, desde el estadio Atanasio Girardot de la ciudad de Medellín, en el departamento de Antioquia, donde las selecciones de Uruguay y Costa Rica están en el descanso, en el partido que disputan ambas correspondiente a la segunda jornada del Grupo C de esta 40ª edición de la Copa América 2001. Al término de la primera parte gana la selección de Costa Rica por 1-0, tanto conseguido por su estrella y posiblemente una de las estrellas de la Copa América, el futbolista Pablo Guanchope, en el minuto 28. Un auténtico golazo por lo que ha trabajado, por cómo ha superado a los potentes defensores uruguayos Gonzalo Sorondo y Joe Picera, hasta conseguir el único tanto al final de la primera parte. Con ese gol, Guanchope suma ya 2 goles y empata a Aristizábal, el goleador colombiano, en la tabla de pichichis de esta Copa América, aunque también podríamos incluir al chileno Montesinos si consideramos que el gol que metió a Venezuela se lo anotamos a él, o al contrario se lo damos.
And welcome back to Medellin for the second half of this Group C match between Costa Rica in the red jerseys and Uruguay in light blue. The wind's got up considerably in the last 15 minutes or so. You can see the litter blowing around there at the top of the picture, and it looks as though it's going to be behind the backs of Costa Rica in this second half. Costa Rica leading by 1-0, a memorable goal at that from Paulo Wanchop, who, if you take the goal back to its outset, probably took on almost single-handed most of the Uruguayan team.
Well, it was amazing when you thought there was a lost opportunity. In fact, Uruguay recovered with 4 defenders, but well, you could have had everybody back behind the ball. In the mood that Wanchop has been this evening, he really has been truly the most outstanding player on view.
Remember, both these teams came into tonight's match with 3 points from their opening encounters in Group C. And the winners tonight, if we have an outright winner, will definitely qualify for the quarter-finals. If there's a loser, then they're left to sweat it out for the final group game. Uruguay a little apprehensive at the start here, knowing full well, I suspect, that if they conceded a second goal, the game might be beyond them. Parry with the through ball, it almost dropped for Richard Morales. Drummond hasn't been able to get forward as much as he did in the opening match, and on this occasion gives the ball away. Wins it back at the expense of a throw, which in fact has gone in Costa Rica's favour, so they're getting the little breaks as well tonight, Costa Rica, and that's always important for any team.
Well, you talked about the fullbacks. Both Drummond and Castro were so outstanding in the first game against Honduras, and at times when they have got forward, they've done it to good effect. Clearly is a strength to Costa Rica's game. The way that they're set up, they really do need their fullbacks to get forward whenever they possibly can.
Centino loses the challenge. Corbello, the left wing back, and now Bizera, number 2, Joe Bizera, who plays for the famous Peñarol club in Uruguay. The longer the game wears on, if Uruguay are still behind, one wonders if they'll revert to type and you'll see the less attractive side of their game, which we certainly did see occasionally in their opening match. So far, they've been pretty well behaved in that respect.
I just wonder whether tactically they might change things. They look as if they're adopting the same approach as they did in the first 45 minutes with the 3 at the back and almost the 5 across the midfield with the 2 up front. But really, we talked about it in the first half, and they don't seem to possess that real cutting edge that you're looking for at international football.
Here goes Paulo Wanchop again, forcing the defender, Bizera on this occasion, into a hurried clearance. And then the goalkeeper with likewise shrill whistles of disapproval from the Uruguayan fans in the crowd here in Medellin. And he's off again, Paulo Wanchop. He is the most unusual player, isn't he? The ball is at his feet. Sometimes he fumbles and almost trips over himself. And then on other times it seems to be absolutely glued to his boot, and no one can get it off him.
Well, this evening it's been a good day at the office so far for him. I think his general all-round game has been absolutely outstanding. I've said it already, I think he's certainly the game's best player. And everything that he's done with a lot of quality. And we haven't seen too many of sort of falling over and tripping up that he tends to do.
I think the word unorthodox was invented to describe Paulo Wanchop. Costa Rica coming forward again now with Medford, their veteran striker, who played for them in the 1990 World Cup finals, when the Yugoslav coach Milutinovic, I never could say that name, him, got them all the way to the World Cup finals, Milutinovic. And they're in line with possibly repeating that feat and getting to Japan and South Korea next year. The target here is the Copa America, and the goalkeeper relieved to see that one onto the roof of the net.
Well, actually, Costa Rica have started the second half very well, Alan. I think they've clearly gained a lot of confidence, and their coach, Guimaraes, will have no doubt told them at half-time to maintain their form, maintain their confidence, and certainly maintain that passing ability that they showed at times in the first 45 minutes. But Uruguay looking now to just shake things up a little bit. Substitutes beginning to warm up, in particular Anchen, who looks as if he's a defender, so maybe have injury problems.
Yes, pulling it back, good ball in towards the near post. Real danger for Costa Rica then. Morales almost got to the loose ball.
Well, I did say in the first half, I think there's enough there for Uruguay to believe that they can get into this game. There's bits and pieces that have troubled Costa Rica.
Morales was well placed again. The ball never reached him in the end. It might still Martinez, but the linesman's flag has been raised. Offside against the Uruguayan midfield player. Now we're about to see the first change early in the second half. Jorge Anchen, a defender from the Danubio club, is coming on. He hasn't indicated he has now who's coming off. Looks like it's Martinez. So more defensive player for Martinez, who has played in midfield. Bit of a surprise when you're 1-0 down. Let's see where exactly Anchen ends up.
Well, it looks as if he's replaced like for like at the moment, just on that left-hand side. And a little bit surprising, really, because Uruguay finding themselves 1-0 down. You would have thought that they would have tried to have taken more of an initiative in this game.
They might decide, of course, that a draw would be enough here, because they've got one more game to come, obviously, in the group. And since both Honduras and Bolivia have no points at the moment, Uruguay are still in a good position, but not now, perhaps. Well, I was waiting for the flag, and it never happened, and Medford has scorned a wonderful opportunity to double Costa Rica's lead there.
Well, I think if he'd been a little bit more positive, then that would have been 2-0, but Cabello, the left wing back, just does enough here to put Medford off, and unfortunately, if Medford had a little bit more belief about him, he certainly would have converted that opportunity. That really was gilt-edged, ought to have slotted that home, and ought to have made it a comfortable margin for Costa Rica.
33 now, Hernan Medford. Been on the international scene for a long, long time. I mentioned the 1990 World Cup in which he played. Still looking sharp, to be fair, but should have done better then. Uruguay are going to get a free kick here, as the caption just confirms the change that we've seen. Andres Martinez replaced by Jorge Anchen. Diaz, the injured player.
It's quite a spectacular fall to the ground by Diaz, and there may just have been a hit of a foul from Gomez, but he certainly made the most of it.
Free kick taken short. Oh, what a superb headed goal! Uruguay are back level, and they never really coped with the free kick. Carlos Morales came in on the back post. The header smacked home. The keeper, who's been playing so well, could do nothing about it. And it's 1-1.
Well, you know, we've talked about it time and time again, and Costa Rica have shot themselves in the foot. They are just defending too deep. As this ball comes in from Lemos, just look how deep Costa Rica find themselves. And I just didn't think then that the goalkeeper can really come for things like that, because they are so deep. He's worried, wondering whether his defenders, but there you can see they go very, very deep indeed. It's the skipper, really, Parks, the 21, that really plays Morales onside, and it's a powerful header, but what, he's 2-3 yards away from goal, and really you would have expected him to convert that chance, as well as the Costa Rican goalkeeper Lones has played.
So the 31-year-old Carlos Maria Morales, the oldest man in Uruguay's squad, brings them level with that fine header.
Well, there's always been a hint, hasn't there, as far as Uruguay are concerned, if they'd had that perhaps extra abilities up front to convert some of the chances. We've talked about how well Lones, the goalkeeper, has played for Costa Rica, but well, that inability, if you like, to defend correctly at times is going to cost Costa Rica in this tournament.
And there's going to be a yellow card here. Paulo Wanchop was the player who was fouled, and he's still the centre of attention, and he's been carded as well for his retaliation. Not entirely certain who the Uruguayan player was. I think it might have been Callejas that the referee showed the card to.
Well, this game just spilling over somewhat. The referee has just got to take charge. He has done. He's booked players from either side. I think Gomez is the second Costa Rican player to be booked in that little incident. Wanchop was certainly the first one, but Wanchop certainly frustrated and disappointed that his side have conceded the lead that was given to them by an absolutely superb goal.
I quite understand why Gomez got caution there. Anyway, there's going to be a change by Costa Rica coming on for them. Rolando Fonseca, who scored when the countries last met a couple of years ago in that 5-4 victory that Uruguay enjoyed. Confirmation of Wanchop's caution as well, and I'm pretty certain the Uruguayan player got booked in that little melee, as we see a shot from absolutely nothing that has brought a magnificent save from Manua.
Well, certainly one of the best strikes from distance that we've seen by anybody in this tournament. It was Solis that strike looked as if it was heading for the top corner, and Manua had got across very well indeed.
Still danger for Uruguay. Oh, what an effort that was! A magnificent strike. If that had screamed into the top corner, and it really looked as though it was going to, for the man who's only just come on the field, Fonseca, we would have been looking at another magnificent goal.
Well, it wasn't a bad first touch, was it? It was as sweet a volley as you're going to get. And two fabulous efforts by Costa Rica. The initial one from Solis that the goalkeeper Manua had saved, and then, well, what a fantastic volley from the edge of the box by the substitute Fonseca.
Fonseca certainly in form. He's leading goal scorer in the current World Cup qualifying series. He's scored 8 times in 13 matches for Costa Rica, so a bit of a surprise that perhaps he wasn't in the starting lineup to begin with. They went for the combination of Medford and Wanchop. Now Fonseca has joined Wanchop up front, and there's another threat for Uruguay to deal with.
Well, he did look very lively the other evening against Honduras, especially in the first half, but he seemed to just fade away as the game wore on and was substituted. Whether the coach felt that perhaps he looked a little bit tired. I'm sure it was always in his mind to use him at some point this evening.
Well, they've come back well after the disappointment of conceding that goal, Costa Rica, and this game is still very much in the balance here in Medellin.
Well, there's not an awful lot between either side, is there? I think that they've both shown the capabilities to trouble each other, and I think Costa Rica, when they're in that sort of rhythm and tempo, as we've seen during the course of this game at times, they really do look an exciting side, but I think that their frailties defensively, especially with the fact that they do tend to be too deep at times, is really going to cost them.
Lemos is about to come on here with the Colombian television service only just catching up with the previous substitution, and Sebastian Iguren is going to come on in his place. Ball, particularly as they had players well placed there. Yes, gets it back again. patient. I don't know exactly what they want to see. Perhaps they want Uruguay to get the ball forward a little more quickly. Sorondo for that. Now Diaz down the right touchline. Costa Rica's free kick.
It's only been a competitive game, and Uruguay have been very happy to try and close Costa Rica down in every opportunity. They set the score out very early in the game, but they just took their foot off the pedal, understandably, because their pace in which they did close down was very good indeed.
Still continuing to play some excellent football, Costa Rica. Unlucky there, Drummond couldn't keep it in play.
¡Gira, gira, vamos! ¡No perdamos la intensidad!
Guren on for Lemos, the latest substitution. So Uruguay have used 2 of their replacements.
It's interesting they both come on as midfield players as well, because we talked about the closing down and the work rate, and the coach Victor Por has decided to try and freshen things up a little bit in that midfield area.
Still guilty of giving the ball away there. Looked like a foul on the halfway line. The referee, however, has given the benefit of the doubt to Costa Rica, and Fonseca in possession. Oh, well, he likes the spectacular, doesn't he?
Well, he's going to make sure that one chop is not going to steal all the show. There's 2 opportunities that we've seen from Fonseca from long distance. That one certainly would have been very spectacular indeed, but the Costa Rican coach, and there's the Uruguayan coach Victor Por, who will be feeling a little bit better now.
But danger again here as Morales threatens Costa Rica. That's very good defending by Martinez. Solly's doing well too. Castro with the through ball. A little too much on that. Both goalkeepers have certainly distinguished themselves this evening, otherwise we would have had a much higher score than the 1-1 here in Medellin. Diaz with the cross. Morales with the downward header. Spectacular clearance then by Parks. And you wouldn't like to predict the outcome of this game. As one chop looked to be body checked then, and the referee agrees.
Well, it's got a better flow to it now. I think that the opening period in the second half was, again, both sides testing each other out. But there was the skipper for Costa Rica, Parks, clearing the ball. But again, as that ball came in from the right-hand side from Diaz, and you look at how far advanced Richard Morales was, again, indication on how much Costa Rica like to defend deep.
Slowing it down. Perez on the ball for them. And Diaz. Back to the number 5, Perez. Callejas takes over. Good challenge. Wins it back for Costa Rica. Centino. 11 is Gomez. Centino again. Pretty obvious offside there. Fonseca.
I think that's the difference between the 2 sides. You can see how far advanced Uruguay had decided to defend. They'd come a good 30 yards out, and that squeezes the play. It's very difficult for forwards to make the right sort of runs. This game certainly very much in the balance.
About Uruguay's proud history in this competition. They won the first 2 Copas ever held way back in the early 1900s. Remember, it's the longest standing international competition in world football. As Morales does really well here, slides the ball into a dangerous position, wouldn't sit down quickly enough for Callejas to get a shot in, and then Diaz made a bit of a mess of it, and Costa Rica rode their luck there.
That's a fantastic opportunity that you can be certain that Costa Rica will attack with a lot of pace and a lot of power. This is a great opportunity now for a counter-attack. Uruguay trying to get back in great numbers.
One shot's done brilliantly again here. Fantastic! Drummond! Well, twice in that move. Paulo One-Chop was on a different planet to the rest.
Well, he's been truly outstanding right through the course of this football match. Everything he's done with great skill, great quality, great awareness. Just look at the way that he just sidesteps defenders and then has the awareness to see Drummond, the advancing right wing back, and well, unfortunately it was Drummond in the danger area, not One-Chop. If it had been the other way around, I do believe Costa Rica would have found themselves ahead.
Well, you can pay Paulo One-Chop no greater tribute than to say the way he's performed today, he would have been at home in Brazil's team, the real Brazil, not the one that we've seen in the build-up to this competition. Magnificent performance.
This has been as good as I've ever seen him. I think that the times that I've watched him during the course of his period in the Premier League, he has done some marvellous things, and a lot of people have been extremely complimentary about him. But really, he's just general all-round game. The way that he's held the ball up, he's given his team a platform to play from. He's been the most dangerous attacker on view. And his performance so far has been outstanding.
And here's Fonseca! Well, that's 3 times since he's come on the field as a substitute that he's fashioned an opportunity to score.
Oh, this is a fantastic chance, and it's the best chance out of the 3 that he's had. He really does let fly. He goes for power rather than placement, and that's the first time really Uruguay have been caught out with the ball over the top. The ball just sits up a little bit just as he's going to strike it, but he ought to have hit the target from there.
This fascinating game of football is totally on a knife edge still.
Always had something there for you, hasn't it? You just wonder which way this game is going to go, and now again an example of the footwork that we've seen right through the game from Paulo One-Chop.
Castro. Well, that's a clever turn as well. And Gomez still got the shot in, it was well blocked. Presence of Paulo One-Chop is worrying defenders now. Even if he's 15 yards away, they panic.
And also the presence of Fonseca now in the lineup, it seems to have pepped up their attack.
Yeah, it's been a good substitution, that one. Callejas for Uruguay. Played a 1-2 off his opponent, that's unusual, and got nowhere. Castro on to number 10, Centino. Ironically, Costa Rica have had more of the ball than they had in the first half, and they still find themselves conceding a goal. Here's the man who can change that again. Paulo One-Chop finding Drummond. Goes for the return ball again, Drummond. 2 on the far post, went for the near post instead, and Uruguay read the danger.
Well, they've got a problem, haven't they, Uruguay? Costa Rica are playing with a lot of skill and a lot of belief, and certainly that substitution from Costa Rica with Fonseca, the man in view there, seems to have given the Costa Ricans a little bit more belief about their performance, and they get that feeling now that they could go on and win this.
Well, anyone who stayed up late to watch this has been rewarded by an excellent game of football. A little corner routine, Castro's shot smacks into the advertising hoarding.
It's been a disappointing element of the Copa America so far from the corners and free kicks that we have seen. No one's really conjured up anything that has been particularly special.
Carlos Castro certainly kept that theme going there. Gets it back. Foul. The ball thrown away then. In our country, that would be a yellow card.
Well, referee looks very lenient at the moment. He certainly wasn't prepared to take any further action, but the Uruguay coach will be slightly worried at the moment. Costa Rica just having a period of dominance.
Fonseca's done really well since he came on. Ball perhaps just a little too flat. Drummond's there to retrieve possession. We've got options all over the place at the moment. Castro. That's a corner.
Well, they're coming at them from every angle at the moment. Costa Rica, either right-hand side. It was that occasion when Fonseca had picked the ball up. Then on the left-hand side with Castro, the wing-back, trying to get forward. It's a very dominant Costa Rican team at the moment. They've recovered very well from the equalising goal that Uruguay had scored against them in the second half.
Oh, that's clever. So many players waiting for the pass or the cross, and the shot off target.
Well, it was very measured, wasn't it, by Centino, the number 10. You can see what he's looking for. And there's his teammates there, their arms raised. They felt that that ball had just curled enough to find its way into the top corner. It was close, but not close enough.
Angulo Opuesto. A little bit of Spanish that doesn't involve ordering dos cerveza. Can work out that that's opposite angle of the pitch from our normal high camera coverage here.
Where'd you go on holiday this summer?
Foul here on Morales that's left him in a little bit of pain by the looks of it. And he's not in that much pain. They could do a heart transplant, the number of medics they send on when somebody goes down. The broken fingernail. Sarondo. Uruguay pushing on for the first time, really. Ironically, they've scored from their one and only chance of the half. Otherwise, it's been dominated so far by Costa Rica.
Great irony, really, because they played better in the first half and they had nothing to show from it. And we talked about how well Lonis, the Costa Rican goalkeeper, had played and almost saved his team single-handedly at times. 3 outstanding saves, and you thought that Uruguay would have a real problem. And in the second half, they haven't played nearly as well, and yet they've got that equalising goal.
Again, the Uruguayan fans not too happy with their team's attempts to keep possession here. They want to see them go for broke. Callejas.
That was one thing, and we talked about a little bit earlier, as we wondered whether both sides would go for that draw and gain 4 points and perhaps both be favourites to go further in this tournament. But you've got to say, with the amount of chances that have been created, they certainly haven't worked it out beforehand. They are both going for the victory.
Yes, the other teams in the group, Bolivia and Honduras, can be relieved to know that there's no carve-up between these two. Well, at the moment, the suggestion is that Uruguay aren't particularly interested in crossing that halfway line. And when they do, they've given it away.
Certainly since the second half, Alan, that the one side that looks as if they're more than capable of winning this football match is Costa Rica. They have played the better football, and in possession they've been accepting.
Here it goes again. Oh, they're so unlucky.
It was excellent defending by Diaz in the end, but one chop again. He really is playing with so much confidence at the moment.
They need 2 footballs out there, don't they? One for Paulo and one for everybody else. Here's Anchan, one of the Uruguayan substitutes. That could be a dangerous cross. The keeper hesitated and somehow or other got away with it there.
They're claiming for offside. I think it was Marine, the centre-half. Again, my worries about them defensively. Costa Rica very nearly exposed, and again, it's that man Martinez, the top of your picture, playing everybody onside.
And he was onside, he certainly was. Morales should have done better. Paulo one chop. What's he going to do next? Does he know? Does anyone know?
Answers on a postcard.
Oh, beautifully taken there by Morales on the chest. Reminded me of old Cyril Regis, who's pumped that. Beautiful control. It's come to nothing. Another Uruguayan attack fizzles out. Costa Rica continue to dominate the possession here, but that's clumsy. And with a shade over a quarter of an hour to go, it's still very difficult to hazard a guess as to who will win this.
Well, it's just when you think that Uruguay have settled for that valuable point, you know, they came up with that chance where they very nearly converted it. But out of the two sides, Costa Rica certainly have played the more flowing, attractive football.
But they're under threat here. The shot in the end was well wide, but the frailties defensively that Costa Rica have displayed throughout the match were there to be seen again.
Yeah, it must be a worry for their coach. I think that you know, we've talked about how well they've attacked, we've talked about how well they pass the ball in midfield, in particular the number 10 Centino, Solis as well. He links play extremely well between back and front, and the undoubted skills of One Chop and certainly Fonseca, the substitute that we've seen, that really has pepped up their attack. But I think that the way that the three centre-halves defend very deeply, allowing players time and room to really attack them, I think it's got to be a source of worry.
Centino. One Chop. This is Drummond. Good hold up play by Fonseca, and another ball finds Drummond in a good position. One Chop provided the pass. He's back in the middle, hoping for the cross onto his head. It didn't quite come that far.
Some poor defending initially from Uruguay, but showing great strength as that ball came into the box. We talked about the benefits and the effects of when your wing-backs get forward, and Drummond just did that. Sat the ball up from the byline. It's perhaps just got a little bit too much on it, and it's allowed Sorondo, the skipper, and his defensive colleagues, Perez and Becerra, to clear the danger.
Change on the way again for Costa Rica. Stephen Bryce coming on to replace the number 11, Gomez. Bryce has got a good scoring record from midfield for his club side, Alajuela, and another who scored in that 5-4 defeat against Uruguay a couple of years ago.
Well, Bryce was the player that certainly troubled Honduras the other evening. Both him and Fonseca just playing a little bit deeper of Paulo One Chop. He's very effective, he's strong running, loves to attack people, and I think that clearly Costa Rica are going for this.
Good header on for Morales. Good defending by Martinez. Saved a very tricky situation for Costa Rica there. And they've got a tricky situation at the other end of the field. Uruguay in a bit of trouble. Oh, interesting challenge, interesting decision. It's going to be a card for Sorondo. It's yellow, and a free kick, I presume, right on the edge of the box.
Well, it looks as if the referee has decided that was outside the box, and there you can clearly see the challenge was. The referee got it spot on. Unfortunately, the Uruguayan skipper didn't. Sorondo, it was his mistime tackle. We talked about Bryce just coming on as substitute, loves to run at defenders, and there you can see very nearly getting its benefits and rewards. But in a dangerous position now, Uruguay have got to defend in great numbers, and certainly with a lot of strength and determination.
This is danger for Uruguay. Fonseca over the ball, so is the number 10, Centino. Plenty of targets in the middle, if that's to be the chosen option. Shot straight into the defensive wall. Poor, disappointing.
Well, again, another example of how poor free kicks and corners and set pieces in general have been in this Copa America. A great opportunity really to either fire that ball in the danger area and cause some consternation amongst the Uruguayan back four, but well, poor delivery.
Ball given away, and that could be a problem as Morales has got pace and strength down his left-hand side. Good challenge by Parks.
Certainly some desperate defending, isn't it, with the Costa Rican back three. They do create problems for themselves at times. I'm sure there's more organisational work to come for those three.
Cabello's throw. Back it goes to Bizera. Cabello again. And Bizera once more. This time the cross from Cabello. Morales got his head to that, I think. One back by Fonseca, back defending in his own half. Alan One-Chop can't control the ball for once. Fonseca wins it back, but that's going to be a free kick. Let me just remind you of what's coming up later tonight here in Medellin, which is some 1,600 meters above sea level. So that could well suit Bolivia, who are coming up straight after this match against another of the late entrants, Honduras. Into the final 10 minutes then of this game, and the score still level at 1-1. Paolo One-Chop's wonderful goal in the first half cancelled out by Carlos Morales' header following a Uruguayan free kick early in the second.
Seem very content on the Uruguay to maintain possession, try and draw Costa Rica a little bit further forward, and then try and catch them on a break and exploit the deficiencies that Costa Rica have shown at times defensively.
Well, these two teams certainly favourites to go through in this group, and things are shaping up well for an interesting quarter-finals. Colombia and Chile already there. It's likely, well, no more than likely, that Mexico and Brazil will join them in Group B. Costa Rica and Uruguay favourites to go through from this group, Group C, and then two of the third-place teams with the best playing records will make up the 8 for the quarter-finals. The whole thing wraps up on Sunday, July the 29th in the capital city of Bogota, the day of the final then. Well, almost reluctantly crossing the halfway line, Uruguay, and then suddenly remembered where they were, and the ball went back into their own half again.
Well, they're very content now to just hang on for this 1-1 draw, and a vital 1 point to add to the 3 points that they gained from their victory against Bolivia.
But it takes two to tango, and at the moment Costa Rica are content to get men behind the ball. Perhaps they have both settled in a way for the point. The challenge by Parks sends Anchan spinning. Uruguayan free kick. And if the delivery's right here, Costa Rica might have a problem.
Actually quite a bad challenge from Parks, and Anchan showing great skill. And there you can see very high, coming across with his left leg. And as you've rightly said, and I'm sure that the Uruguayan coach has an opportunity now for the likes of Sorondo and Perez and Bizera to get forward. And the right sort of quality into that danger area could spell trouble for Costa Rica, and they would be very disappointed indeed if they were to concede something with around about 7 minutes to go in this game.
He's going to stay off the field for the moment as Uruguay there to deliver the free kick. The referee's going potty down there about something, and you can never keep the fourth official out of the picture, can you? had little to do, so this is his moment of triumph.
It's all the makings of he'll make a good official.
Yep, takes a brave man to order the ambulance men around. Now finally the free kick comes in, and it's a decent one, and again they were found wanting in the air. I think it was the centre half and captain Sorondo who won the header, although the camera disagrees with me. They're going for Igura. Let's see.
Well, we talked about the right sort of delivery into the box, and they very nearly got that indeed. Costa Rica had to be very much on their toes, and it was indeed Eguren that won the header.
And the problem at the other end for Uruguay, Fonseca keeping the pressure on the last defender, Bizera. He still can't find a way out.
He's a tenacious little character, isn't he? Fonseca, the number 7 for Costa Rica, the substitute. Came on for Medford in this second period and livened the proceedings up. And there's also one of the second half substitutions, Bryce, and Solis, who has had an influence in midfield this evening for Costa Rica, just knitted things together very well indeed.
5 minutes to go plus stoppage time. I've noticed that they've not been adding very much stoppage time at all, the referees, so far in this tournament, so honestly, I don't think we can expect more than a couple of minutes.
Probably because they've got another game to follow so quickly.
Who knows? Well, the reaction of the crowd to Uruguay's tactics is clear for all to hear. How many of them are Uruguayan fans and how many the locals? I'm not sure, but certainly they're not happy with this spoiling period of play by the Uruguayans. I wish my Spanish was good enough to tell you what exactly it is they're chanting at the moment. I imagine it's quite abusive.
Well, I think it's a great shame because we haven't really seen too many negative tactics portrayed by any of the sides in the Copa America, but clearly now when they realise that results mean qualification to the next phase of the tournament, and it will mean that both sides will have 4 points each, and clearly neither side really wants to miss out at this moment.
We're about to send on, perhaps underlining what we've been saying, a central defender, Uruguay, Carlos Gutierrez. Costa Rica continue to look the team more interested in getting a winner. And the crowd are certainly taken to them, that's for sure. I can't believe all the fans here are Costa Rican. So it's the neutrals supporting the underdogs, if you like. Slice clearance keeps Uruguay under pressure here, but Fonseca couldn't react quickly enough. Certainly pretty animated, the fans here now.
Well, they seem to be disappointed in Uruguay's performance and quite pleased with Costa Rica. I think out of the two sides, as you've rightly identified, Costa Rica have got a little bit more ambition to try and win this match, but Uruguay have looked very solid, well organised at the back, haven't really conceded too much. Really, when you look at the way Costa Rica have played at times, they have played the better football.
Is Anchan for Uruguay. Is there to be late drama here in Medellin? Perhaps so. Morales couldn't reach the ball. His control initially let him down, and the referee's given a free kick to Costa Rica anyway.
Well, that just goes to show, doesn't it? You know, you can be patient, you can build up, you can be very slow and deliberate, but when you get in that danger area, there are opportunities to be had, and Morales, if he'd been a little bit quicker about his feet, he certainly would have converted that chance.
And Carlos Morales, the other one, is about to make way. The man who got the goal, Gutierrez. as I said, listed as a central defender, comes on in his place. He's a big man, however, Gutierrez. I suppose they might be able to stick him up front for the last few minutes. An interesting indication of their philosophy at this point, exactly where he does go. He's certainly racing across the field. Now Fonseca, good turn by him. Paulo Wanchop, oh, just a bit too casual that time. Everyone a little nervous now, knowing full well that a mistake at this stage would be fatal. We're into the final minute here in Medellin. 1-1 the score. Costa Rica in the red jerseys, looking for a winner. Solis for them. 22 is Castro. Now Fonseca, a lively second half sub. He might well have had a goal. And again, just a minute. I think the board's stuck on one number, actually. That's what it is. Even if there was 10 minutes stoppage time, it'd still read 1. Martinez. So we are into the final 60 seconds. Still time for Paulo Wanchop to show his skill. Still time for Solis to press on. Fonseca with the shot. Could have been a hero, could have won it for Costa Rica in stoppage time.
Well, he's had 3 excellent chances since he's come on as a substitute in the second half, Fonseca. But again, wonderful build-up by Costa Rica. Excellent passing. And certainly Bryce looked as if he was in an offside position. He was the one that was calling for the ball. It's a comfortable save for Minur in the end, but Fonseca, since coming on as a substitute, has looked very lively and has been a constant threat.
And that's it. It's all over in Medellin. A point each. 4 points now in the group table for both Uruguay and Costa Rica, who here tonight have fought out a 1-1 draw.
Costa Rica en el minuto 27 de la primera parte con tanto de Wanchope. Empata Carlos María Morales para la selección de Uruguay. 8:30 del segundo tiempo. Ambos 4 puntos. Ya en la siguiente ronda, las dos selecciones les interesaba ese empate. A continuación, el turno para Bolivia y para Honduras, buscando desde sus 0 puntos, porque fueron derrotados en la primera jornada por estas dos selecciones, alguna posibilidad de clasificación. Estamos enseguida con ustedes aquí en el Atanasio Girardot de la ciudad de Medellín.